Welcome to PENSARE Basketball. This is a great day for a multitude of reasons. Number one, the Toronto Raptors are coming off a draft in which I am very happy with everything they did between Allen Graves and Jaden Bradley. Number two, Kawhi Leonard potentially pushing his way to the Toronto Raptors. Talk about we're going to talk about everything that he is doing to, perhaps push his way back to one of his two former homes. There are three teams, as I understand it, per Jake Fischer's report, that will be interested in Kawhi, and only two of them, or four teams that will be interested in Kawhi, and only two of them that he would actually sign an extension with, including your Toronto Raptors. I also have some really exciting news. I will be doing an interview with the Santa Clara associate coach on Allen Graves. I have some great questions. I have spent most of last night, I think I spent 5 hours last night and 2 hours right before the panel this morning, watching more Allen Graves. And the more I like it, the more I watch it, the more I like it. And there's great, man. It's great. And also, there was a guy I was talking about a lot yesterday, Nate Biddle, the Oregon Ducks, big man, 7-footer. The Toronto Raptors have a 7-footer, man, on an Exhibit 10 deal. He's probably going to be G League bound. He needs maybe 2 years of weight training and development, but this is a big man who plays like a big man and absolutely does have some shooting touch and great touch indicators around the rim and can block some shots. And hey, man, it's all good. And we're going to talk about the LaMelo Ball trade. LaMelo Ball traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves, so a lot of good stuff. Absolutely. Nice one said, I'm ready for Biddle and battle. That sounds like a law firm. That does sound like a law firm. Okay, let's get into it. So let's start with the first bit here, which is Jake Fischer reporting that the Kawhi Leonard saga with the Clippers could be coming to an end. Now, fair caveat, the Clippers have interest in signing Kawhi to a long-term deal. And also, it just so happens that Kawhi would prefer to stay with the Los Angeles Clippers. So we're dead in the water, right? Not so much, because the LA Clippers have had a couple of disasters around Kawhi. Number one, obviously, the inability to retain Paul George and the fall off of Paul George, the lack of success, the aspiration, saga tainting sort of the entire tenure of Kawhi in LA. And right now, right, they have obviously drafted Keaton Wagler instead of trading that pick and maybe getting Kawhi a little bit more immediate help. Keaton is a phenomenal prospect and is going to be, I think, a very good player. He had the best decel in the entire draft, rocked out last year as a 3-star recruit for Illinois, and did an unprecedented jump from going from a 3-star to a top 5 player. But he's still years away, and Kawhi doesn't have years. So if Kawhi Leonard is perhaps looking, maybe the grass is greener in Toronto, where he can compete in the East. There isn't a clear contender in the Eastern Conference, although, respect to the Boston Celtics, Cleveland Cavaliers, New York Knicks, Miami Heat, etc. I think Kawhi would probably prefer at this stage in his career to compete with Scotty Barnes and whatever is left after the trade. So the report is that Kawhi would prefer to stay with the Clippers on a long-term extension. Let me just show you his contract right now. This is Kawhi Leonard's contract with the LA Clippers, and that contract, as you can see, is up next year. The Clippers are not going into next season with Kawhi on an expiry. They want to get a deal done now. What that deal looks like is basically going to come down to years term. Kawhi probably is looking for a long-term deal here, which is maybe going to make the Clippers a little bit, scared, because there's been severe injury history with Kawhi. It's an ongoing concern. The Raptors know it, the Spurs know it, and the Clippers know it. From Kawhi's angle here, could Toronto and San Antonio be leveraged to get the maximum deal term possible from the Clippers? Yes, that is a fair assessment and a fair assumption to say Kawhi is using the threat of going back to San Antonio or going back to Toronto. But herein lies the point. Toronto is interested. Toronto obviously knows that Kawhi is a massive upgrade over any player they have on this team, including Scotty Barnes. Not that Scotty Barnes is being traded. As it pertains to just everything he does on offense and the floor he gives you defensively, this is who Kawhi Leonard was last year at the age of 33, 34. And Kawhi is not a twitchy athlete. He is a phenomenal shooter. He had his highest volume 3-point attempt rate last year. He shot basically 40% from three the last 3 years. This is a lights out shooter. It's a proven playoff performer. There is a huge, huge, huge reason for the Raptors to really offer the Clippers the moon for this. Now, obviously, the Raptors are not going to offer 4 first-round picks and every single swap that they can imagine, because this is Kawhi Leonard at 34, 35 years old. And, the injury risks are very real. But for a short-term window to contend in the Eastern Conference, does Kawhi make sense if the price is right? From the Raptors' perspective, according to the report, the Raptors are interested. Are the Spurs actually interested? Nope. From my understanding, the Spurs are not interested. And I don't think that the Spurs are going to give you Carter Bryant, Steph Castle, or any young asset that you're looking at if you're the Clippers to really retool around Darius Garland and Keaton Wagler and Ben Mathurin and everything else they can do. They are still LA. They still have a phenomenal facility, a very rich owner. They're going to be fine in free agency at some point. But from the Kawhi standard, this is about maximizing the rest of your prime with a team that you trust, an organization that you trust, and therein lies the point. I think that the Raptors can make a very competitive offer for Kawhi, and I'm going to show you that offer on the screen. I think this is a good offer. Brandon Ingram has already played in the LA market. He gives you something a little bit younger than Kawhi. It's not a super long-term deal. The Clippers can play this out. He functions similar spots on the court. He's just nowhere near the basketball player that Kawhi Leonard is. From the Raptors' perspective, you're also giving up a former lottery pick in Grady Dick, who may still have some development juice, but I wouldn't hold my breath, and a 2027 top 8 protected pick, which the Clippers may fancy. They may value, because they could look at the situation with Kawhi and say, by the time Keaton Wagler becomes who we expect him to, we are going to have to hold our breath that Kawhi is going to be durable enough to sustain that and patient enough, and he's not going to get 1 year into his extension and then ask out. To the people who think that maybe Kawhi doesn't want to be back in Toronto, I disagree. I've heard every single person who has ever spoken to me on this subject that I would trust at all say that Kawhi left Toronto on very good terms with Masai, with Bobby, with the entire organization, and there was never a bad blood between the organization. People say that Kawhi screwed the Raptors. I don't think that's the case at all. He actually did a really good job preserving accountability from his camp. And you could say, Uncle Dennis muddied the waters by asking for extra favors and the Raptors said no or whatever. But again, there was no bad blood on it. They kind of just brushed it aside and they said, cool, we'll just move aside. Kawhi has a viable market in Canada. It's a huge market. People love Kawhi. He brought a championship to this organization. That equity is not dead. It is why the Raptors fan base almost doubled. It's why the Raptors had probably the biggest championship parade, and it's why this man was the center focus of that parade. He also happened to hit the biggest shot in Raptors franchise history in the playoffs over the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, this is not nostalgia. This is not chasing a player well past his prime. Kawhi Leonard may be past his absolute peak, but he is absolutely still in his prime. So my view on this is the Toronto Raptors vault themselves into contention if they manage to get Kawhi for the package that I just proposed. Now, what else could you do? Well, I mean, if you have Kawhi and you have Scotty Barnes and you have Colin Murray-Boyles, then the onus is now on you to now use RJ Barrett and whatever remaining pick equity you have to go out and get the type of center who can actually space the court for all of this to work. And this is where, you might look at a guy like Miles Turner and say, okay, can we use a pick to get Miles Turner and some spacing from the Milwaukee Bucks, maybe a Tyler Hero, and Miles Turner for Jakob Poeltl, RJ Barrett, and 2 picks. That immediately turns you into a roster that makes sense. Okay, Emmanuel Quickley, Tyler Hero, Scotty Barnes, Kawhi Leonard, and Miles Turner is a championship level team, and you have proven playoff performers, right? In this, Heroes had huge moments in the playoffs, although recency bias aside. You could also maybe look at calling up Dallas and saying, listen, we got Kawhi and we got Scotty Barnes. How do you feel given that you are in the Western Conference with a very young core now, which includes Morez Johnson and Cooper Flag, how do you feel about giving us Kyrie Irving? We would happily move off another pick or maybe a pick swap. And I understand that people have some, perhaps reservations about moving off of picks, but I feel that good about Colin Murray Boyles, Jacoby Walter, Alan Graves, Scotty Barnes, some of the ancillary pieces that you got on the back end, like Jaden Bradley, Elijah Martin. I feel like enough of this will work that you're never going to be like in a situation that the Minnesota Timberwolves were in the 2000s, where you're like, or the Brooklyn Nets were in the mid 2010s, where you're like, oh my God, we're terrible and we don't have our picks. I don't think that's going to happen. And I don't think with Scotty Barnes in play, that's going to happen. Someone said Brooke Lopez. Yeah, sure, man. But if you get Kawhi Leonard and you have Scotty Barnes, you get minimum contract guys, right? You're going to get guys lining up to fill out your roster. This is what people almost never understand. Depth is easier to assemble when you have stars. When the Miami Heat went all in on their big three, they didn't panic. They knew within a year they would assemble the roster with enough depth around those big three. With Scotty Barnes, potentially Kawhi Leonard, and some third star to pair there, you would have not only Colin Murray Boyles, who is phenomenal, just an absolute ace of a player who proved himself in the playoffs at the highest leverage moments. You would not only have Alan Graves, who I think is going to contribute way sooner. And I really can't wait to talk to that Santa Clara coach, because when I reached out to Santa Clara and I said, listen, like, I really like this guy. I love what you guys are doing. I just want to remind y'all that Santa Clara had Jalen Williams, Brandon Pajemski. Since I was born, Santa Clara has had 4 NBA players. 4. 3 of them have been awesome. Brandon Pajemski is awesome for where he was drafted. There's no way that you can say B-Pods is anything but a success story. Steve Nash is the ultimate Santa Clara success. He's a 2-time MVP. And J-Dub was being put in top 10 player talks last year when people thought he shouldn't be a top 20 pick. If nothing else, what I can say is that whatever they're doing in Santa Clara, whatever is in the water on that West Coast, they produce guys who massively outperform the expectations. So, and again, I heard a lot of stuff, like we to the people who've watched our draft coverage, right? I don't want to turn this into another Alan Graves hype session diatribe, but I do want to show you guys something. This was a very interesting clip that I came across yesterday, and I just want to show it to you guys because it's a really funny thing. So first of all, I want to give a shout out to Kevin O'Connor for sharing this. It's really cool. But I also want to give a shout out to Kevin O'Connor for actually reposting this. This is really nice of him to do. Hang on one second. I'll pull this up. So this is KOC. Shout outs to KOC for reposting this. Doing a lot of draft stuff. KOC. But this was Kevin O'Connor's interview. You can watch the full thing on YouTube. But this is a little segment of why I think Raptor fans are going to fall in love with Alan Graves. Listen to this. Listen to this by get the mute up. My bad. Go up.
Growing up, like sometimes where you played and you missed the shot, there'd be an alligator waiting there for the rebound. Is that true?
Yeah, that is very true. We have a camp on the river and in Manchac, and you miss the shot, that ball goes in the water. There's probably a gator there waiting on you to jump in and get it.
No outlet passes from the alligators, no?
No outlet passes, unless you want to lose a hand, lose something like that. But most of the time, they wouldn't mess with you, so you'd be fine.
You ever go in there for a ball with a gator in there?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that scary?
I mean,
it's growing up like in the Northeast. We don't have those there.
The gator won't mess with you unless you buy a baby or something.
Okay, I see. But how do you know if there's a baby gator in there?
You just gotta pray.
Well, that's a lot of faith in God there, right?
There you go.
Love it. So look, again, there's a million things to love, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy that interview because from what I've heard, the Santa Clara coaching staff was just in love with this kid. Even before the draft, they were in love with this kid. He redshirted a year. He invested in himself. He worked hard every single day. I'm going to dig deep into this interview. I'm not going to be controversial and do gotcha journalism because I do want to continue to maintain relationships within this world. But I'm really looking forward to that interview because, again, This feels a lot like the Colin Murray Boyles pick where everyone just kind of hates it. And then they realize, like, oh, wait, actually, this guy's pretty great. And Big Step Back said, where was Graves? Mocked on average. So Alan Graves, from people that were in the know, said that his floor was San Antonio at 20. From people who weren't in the know, he was mocked all the way down to 24, 25. And for some people who were very optimistic, they said that his floor was 16 with Memphis. But then Memphis traded the pick and they traded back. So we'll never know if Memphis would have taken him at 16 or if Memphis was always going to go with Kareem Lopez. But I wonder if Memphis kind of thought Alan Graves or Kareem Lopez will be there at 20, at 21, 20, 21 where we draft. So we're just going to pick the one that's available. But I'm positive that Alan Graves was not getting to 22, no matter what. One of Memphis or San Antonio was going to pick this guy. So, and it's very similar with the Scotty Barnes thing. People were up in arms about like, oh my God, I can't believe the Raptors reached for Scotty Barnes. Little did they know that Jeff Weltman in Orlando and Sam Presti in OKC all wanted Scotty Barnes with their next pick. So, it's sometimes, there's things that go on behind the scenes and we're not privy to it, or it never really comes out, and people just react to, oh, well, the mock drafts had Scotty Barnes at 6. The mock drafts had Scotty Barnes at 5. I can't believe we messed this up, but the intel tells something else. So the Raptors have like all of these like role player types, right? In theory, they have everything but a stretch big to put next to Kawhi Leonard. And I think the cool thing about Kawhi is he is a very, very portable basketball player. It's weird to say that a guy who handles as much usage as Kawhi is portable, but he can play in just about any system. Do a mental thought experiment. Think of every single team in the league. Now name me one team in the league that Kawhi wouldn't make better right now if you dropped him on. Just be like, oh, he could never function in that system. Oh, he can't play that way. Oh, he can't play with that structure of players. Minnesota right now, you don't think they need Kawhi? Of course they need Kawhi. Lakers, you don't think they need Kawhi next to Luka? Of course they need Kawhi next to Luka. The Clippers need him. The Spurs need him. The Heat need him. The Bucks need him. Everyone needs him. Everybody needs Kawhi. And because the Raptors have established this long-standing relationship with him, because he already knows the city, this is a guy who's, generally speaking, very much a guy who, I've always said there's certain people that gravitate towards familiar. I think Kawhi is one of those people that kind of gravitates towards familiar. And I kind of I gathered this in 2015, 2016 when I was listening to interviews of him. He just is not someone who's like trying to shake things up a lot. So he's got loyalty for sure. The San Antonio situation unfortunately soured. The Toronto situation was never his preference. He came to Toronto. To those people who may not remember the exact situation as it was, he told Toronto, don't trade for me. When he came to Toronto, he said, I told y'all not to trade for me. But to his credit, he was professional about it. He said, I'll play out my year, but I'm not coming back. And yet, even in that, when Kyle Lowry was sulking about DeMar DeRozan being traded and not wanting to talk to Masai Ujiri and how he felt so betrayed and the team was in very much disarray, it was Kawhi Leonard who approached Kyle Lowry, and this is stated on record, and said, listen, I know your best friend got traded, but listen, we got a chance to actually do something here, so let's try it out and let's see what happens. And by the end of the year, it looked like Kyle Lowry had a new best friend in Kawhi Leonard. Danny Green was a huge support staff, in terms of bridging that relationship as well, go between those two guys. But so was Serge Ibaka, so was, Marc Gasol when he got here, so was Fred VanVleet, and the whole thing just worked. I think being in a place where you've already won a championship is pretty cool. And Kawhi coming back, I hope, even after all the aspiration stuff, even after all the slanderous things that some Raptor fans have said about Kawhi, I hope you guys would extend open arms to him, and I hope that he would feel very welcome in this city. I can't even imagine. I want you to, visualize it, manifest it. Okay, I want you to imagine on opening night, Scotiabank Arena, lit, sold out, tickets through the roof. That's not the good part. That's good for MLC. That's not so good for us. And I want you to imagine that they say from San Diego State, number 2, welcome back home, Kawhi Leonard. Oh my God. There would be so many tears shed. There would be like people falling over, fainting. you'd have no idea what that would do for this city, for this franchise, and for the seriousness of this organization. Most importantly, for people who are maybe done with the rebuild, they're kind of sick and tired of waiting on Elijah Martin, waiting on Jamison Battle, waiting on Grady Dick, waiting on this and waiting on that. I'm not saying you would throw away all your youth and all your assets and all your flexibility. I know Bobby Webster's never going to do that because he values optionality more than anyone in the league. But the idea of speeding things up a little bit, of saying, okay, we're done messing around here. This lines up perfectly because the path from Scotty to Kawhi. Look, I made a video a few years ago about why the Raptors should explore trading Pascal Siakam and stuff to get Kevin Durant. And the theory, once again, is the same with Kawhi. Getting that level of talent, I want to be clear, Kawhi Leonard was a top 5 to top 7 player for most of last season. Watch him any game, you'd be crazy to say otherwise. He was incredible for the Clippers. After they got themselves in that hole, he is absolutely the biggest reason they got themselves out of that hole. When they traded James Harden, they traded his best teammate away. And I have no idea because I don't know Kawhi, but I can't imagine that he was thrilled about that. I can't imagine that he was thrilled to be left in the lurch 2 times in a row because 1, Paul George wouldn't take a pay cut, and then 2, because James Harden wanted to chase greener pastures in Cleveland of all places. I can't imagine that. But right now, if Kawhi Leonard's goal in life is to play good basketball in an organization that he trusts, with good people, in a stress-free environment, compete for championships, make deep playoff runs, not be over-relied upon, Toronto is a better fit than the LA Clippers, by far. Don't have to go through OKC, don't have to go through San Antonio, don't have to face Denver every single year. You have to face Indiana. Give me the East. Absolutely give me the East. Rob, is Kawhi's interest in rejoining the Raptors even real, or are we just in a game of leverage? I can tell you the Raptors' interest in Kawhi is real. And I can tell you that Jake Fischer is probably more plugged in. I'm not a newsbreaker. As everyone who follows the channel knows that I'm not. I would never ever say that I'm a newsbreaker, but I'm trying to get into the knowing things before other people know them by using existing relationships, building relationships. And what I can tell you is that some people are always more right about certain teams than others. Jake Fischer is probably more right about the Toronto Raptors than most newsbreakers, if not all newsbreakers, unless it pertains to like one particular player, in which case I would trust Chris Haynes. And it's just, that's the relationship. You can play a game of guess a who and try to ask, like, who do they have the number for? Who are they contacting? When it comes to Scotty Barnes, Jacoby Walter, Jeff Doughton, Ulrich Shamshi, some of these guys on the Raptors, you can bet your bottom dollar I'm going to be more right than most of the people who cover the Raptors. That's relationships. So when it comes to Kawhi Leonard, Toronto Raptors, internal thinking, front office, the certain agencies that are involved, I think Jake Fischer knows what he's talking about. So again, this news breaks on the heels of, LaMelo Ball exiting the East. I do want to talk about that very briefly before I go back to, the Kawhi stuff. LaMelo Ball gets traded for 3 pick swaps, a boatload of second-round picks, and an unprotected 2033 first-round pick from Minnesota. Minnesota, of course, traded Julius Randle for a bucket of extra crispy. And now they are pairing LaMelo Ball with Anthony Edwards in the Western Conference. I feel that this is a dumb move. I think this is a desperation move to appease a big star in a small market to show them that they're serious. It didn't work for Giannis in Milwaukee. It's not going to work for Anthony Edwards in Minnesota. The concerns of injury are real. And this morning, I got a whole bunch of hateful messages on my timeline saying that I was an idiot and I don't know ball because I didn't want LaMelo Ball in Toronto. Yeah, I don't want Scotty Barnes to go to jail for manslaughter because he throws a chair at LaMelo Ball's head when he has his 4th turnover in 5 minutes and does a step back fadeaway from the logo. I'm cool off that. Okay. There's certain people you win with, there's certain players you don't. There's a level of seriousness. I'm sorry. Let me say something about the NBA that is tried and proven for my entire lifetime. Adults win championships. David Robinson and Tim Duncan were adults. LeBron James and Dwayne Wade were adults. Dirk Nowitzki is an adult. Okay. Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, these guys are adults. Jalen Brunson is an adult. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is an adult. Children don't win championships in the NBA. And if you are a 25, 26, 27-year-old who has the functional risk assessment, self-discipline, yappy mouth, restraint, work ethic, questionable, judgment of a 5-year-old, you're not going to win championships. LaMelo Ball was bad last year against top 15 teams. LaMelo Ball has been bad in high leverage moments multiple times. So, look, there are Raptor fans who have been talking about star hunting for a while. They've wanted Trae Young. I've heard Raptor fans say they wanted Trae Young. I've heard Raptor fans say they want John Morant. I've heard Raptor fans say they want Darius Garland, James Harden. Apparently, if you've made a couple of All-NBA teams, I've even heard Raptor fans say they want Domantas Sabonis. Kawhi Leonard, albeit older than all of those players, is a better idea than all of those players. Significantly a better idea than all of those players. Do you know why? Because Kawhi Leonard is a winner. He wins everywhere he goes. I'll also say this. You have a team with 3 incredibly young players. More, actually. Jacoby Walter, Scotty Barnes, Colin Murray-Boyles, Allen Graves. Now you have Jamal Shed. You have Jamison Battle. You have Jaden Bradley. You have a lot of young, impressionable players who are just trying to figure out the ins and outs of the NBA. I would love for any one of these players to watch one Kawhi Leonard workout. I've had the privilege of watching 10 minutes of a Kawhi Leonard workout my entire life, and I genuinely was exhausted. There is a workman-like, cyborg-like approach to how he approaches work. He may not bring you into the workout with him, but there's certainly a lot to be said about how much can be learned by watching somebody who is a master of their craft. Kawhi Leonard is as close to a master of his craft, and that's why I'm open to Kyrie Irving, even though I know that the world is not flat and I'm not necessarily for some of the stuff that he says. Kyrie Irving is an insane worker. If Steph Curry were ever available, even at the age of 38, I'd be all over it, because I believe that when you bring those types of people into your organization, proven winners, champions, guys who have really figured it out, it mirrors bringing in Charles Oakley to coach Vince Carter on how to be a great pro. How do you take care of your diet? Do you know one of the things that horrified me early in Scotty Barnes' rookie season? There was a clip of Scotty Barnes and Yuta Watanabe, and they were having breakfast, and Scotty poured like 2 cups, it was like 2 spoons of cereal on top of his Frosted Flakes. And I was just like, oh my God. If Kawhi Leonard is on your team, you are not pouring 2 cups of sugar on your Frosted Flakes as a professional athlete. That shit is insane. It's genuinely insane, right? I'm not even going far as like, oh, Vlade Divac used to smoke cigarettes in the Lakers locker room bullshit. Like, I'm not going all the way back to that shit, but I mean, you might as well at that point. So what I'm saying is, if you have people like Allen Graves, where, again, we talked a lot about Allen Graves yesterday, but I'm going to say one more thing just to not bounce too many things off here. Allen Graves, Cheap Seats and I had multiple debates on Allen Graves over the last couple of days. We've had multiple, what's the athletic floor ceiling? Is the shot too low? Will he be able to switch onto the perimeter? Is he locked in at the power forward? I saw a video from Cheap Seats saying that in his absolute best 100th percentile outcome, this is maybe Al Horford, because they have similar athletic testing and similar size and skill and all this stuff. Look, Allen Graves was a post-up big in Santa Clara. That's not going to be his role in the NBA. The handle is questionable, but that's developable. That's not even a word, developable. You can develop it. The shot is maybe a little bit slow and a little bit low, but you know what? Again, great intelligence is going to boost that. I don't think he's as unathletic as people think. I kept watching it yesterday. I would watch him in transition. I would watch him poke at a shot. There was a particular play against Otoga away. just blew right past him because he reached left, and next thing you know, Atoga is like 6 feet beyond him, and you're just like, okay, we're gonna have a lot of trouble if we're asking Alan Graves to switch out to Darius Garland. He's gonna get blown by quite a bit, but you don't need him to do that. You really don't need him to do that. You're not asking him to be Colin Murray Boyles and Jonathan Mobo. But man, the more I watched him run in transition, the more I watched him, pump fake and then get through, I'm just like, what does this look like with just a little bit more strength? What does this look like if he can just get a little bit more separation? I like the touch around the rim. So now you put this guy in the gym who already has great footwork in the post, great touch, good shooting indicators. You put Alan Graves in the same practice facility for the next 3 years as Kawhi Leonard. Go make a case that he doesn't get better. Kawhi also didn't test very extremely well athletically. That's a big reason why he was available at 15. If he was jumping out of the gym as a long athlete who could actually show some shooting potential and was the defender that he was, even if you didn't buy the competition that he was facing in San Diego State, I would 100% tell you Kawhi Leonard would have been like a lock for the top 6. But people had questions. Oh, he's not very vertical athlete. He doesn't jump out of the gym. He's not explosive enough, et cetera, et cetera. So, I think, I'm not saying Alan Graves or Scotty Barnes or any of these guys are Kawhi Leonard. But if they could get some of the stuff that Kawhi Leonard does well down, manipulating space, using your shoulders, minimizing your steps, making your game more compact, playing off of 2 feet, these things are invaluable for players like this. Improving angles around the rim, picking your spots, getting to your spots, manipulating space. Kawhi is a master of compact offense. He's also a master of shot selection and shooting quality, which is something I cannot say about LaMelo Ball. So to finalize the point on the Charlotte Hornets, if there are, by chance, of the 530 people watching this, if there's any Charlotte Hornets fans out there, your organization finally knows what they're doing. Stop crying about it. I think the Hornets' future is very bright. I think the Atlanta Hawks' future is very bright. And if you're the Toronto Raptors, you're looking at teams around you like potentially Detroit, clearing out some cap space to make a big move. You're looking at Atlanta making correct move after correct move. You're looking at Charlotte that's slowly getting away from their losing ways and suddenly bringing in Hannes Steinbach and Christian Anderson and re-signing Kobe White and bringing in Con Knipple. You're looking at Philadelphia, who just got LeBaron Philon to pair with VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey, and who knows what else they're going to be able to do, with that new front office. But they do have somebody competent and an adult who isn't a child in charge now, in the former Warriors boss. And then you look at Miami getting, Giannis, and you see, Boston is in very competent hands with Brad Stevens and Joe Mazzulla, and they're just developing players and they're doing a really good job of it. And you're just like, man, are we going to waste Scotty Barnes' entire prime right now? Because he's entering it right now. If what Scotty showed you in the playoffs is real, which I absolutely believe it is, then he's ready to compete for championships now. He's not 3 years from now, no, he's ready to go for it now. He won't win it right away, but he's ready to go make a finals run right now. Jamal Shed is an adult. When I said adults win championships, Jamal Shed is an adult. He is 23 or 24 years old going on 45. He's an adult. Okay? Jamison Battle is an adult. Jacoby Walter is slowly becoming an adult. This offseason especially, we're seeing a lot of growth from Jacoby Walter. Colin Murray Boyles at 21 years old is a freaking adult. Like, that guy is very workmanlike, knows his game, knows who he is. Jakob Poeltl, if he's not traded out, is an adult, right? Emmanuel Quickley, if he's not traded out, for all of the questions about, some of his paint finishing and decision making, he's an adult. He takes accountability. He's coachable. He listens. He works hard. He supports his teammates. He's an adult. These are adults. RJ Barrett is an adult. If he's not shipped out in this deal, he's an adult. You have a roster which is very young that can absolutely do some of the heavy lifting. And then when you get into the playoffs, that's when you're going to see the real value of Kawhi. I want to share something that I shared on the panel today. So part of my draft work, now, again, this is probably more of a comment on my own lack of self-esteem. In previous years, I've been very afraid I don't know why. Maybe this is, bad childhood, to call people. Even if I knew their numbers, even if I knew somebody who knew them, I was very afraid to call a coach. Part of me was like, who am I to call them? I'm a podcaster, cover the Raptors. They coach the Duke Blue Devils. They don't want to hear from me. They don't want, I'm going to get shut down. But then, I talked to a friend of mine last year and he said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Closed mouths don't get fed. Shoot your shot. And so I've gotten better at it. I've gotten just better at calling people. I've gotten better at, okay, hey, like, I'm interested in this prospect. I wanted to pick your brain. You coached him last year off the record. How was his work ethic in practice? I've never believed in my life that people would be so receptive to this shit. They're just happy to talk. They're really happy to talk. They're really happy to share. It's amazing. Usually they don't share bad things. They're not like, oh, this guy was, doing crack in the locker room. But usually it's really nice to hear those things. And this is something that got me like to reach out to Chuck Swirsky. Like I didn't think Chuck Swirsky would want to hear from me, but I reached out to him and I'm like, do you want to do an interview? And he's like, yeah, sure. I'm like, oh man, closed mouths really don't get fed, do they? So one of the things that I heard from multiple coaches this year about certain players is this guy is a 16 game player. This guy, yeah, he's built for the bright light. He's a 16 game player. I hadn't heard that. I heard that loosely used, but just to hear that multiple times, that was interesting to me. How much people are starting to focus on half court creation, a lack of schemable weaknesses, and things like that. I will say this: Kawhi Leonard is the epitome of a 16 game player. Mega Fighter King said, you have an interview with Swirsky? Yes, I do. I do. And I don't know why the algorithm didn't push it up more. I love that interview. If you have time after this, you can YouTube Pensare Basketball, Chuck Swirsky. Yeah, it was a great conversation. I loved it. I got, Chuck was like one of my childhood heroes. This is kind of weird thing to say, but like, I came to Toronto as a 14-year-old kid, and he was my introduction to the Toronto Raptors. So that was a really big bucket list thing for me. And that sounds kind of funny for people who talk to people like Chuck Swirsky all the time. But yeah, it was really cool for me. So anyways, so my point is that when you, oh, I love that. Yeah. You know what I liked about Chuck Swirsky the most? Unbridled enthusiasm. Here, actually, I want to share this here. So, right here.
Of the Canadian culture and how they are raised from day one about what it means to be a Canadian hockey player.
So there you go. It does exist. Definitely go watch it. I'll link it maybe afterwards, just in case. It's very relevant to everything. It's an evergreen. It's what YouTube content creators call evergreen content. It's not specifically about a particular trade rumor or something. It's just a conversation between a young man and his hero, Chuck Swirsky, right? I met Chuck in Chicago when I was at Loyola, one of my heroes for sure too. That's dope, man. He's a good dude. He's a really good dude, really approachable. So my larger point is Kawhi Leonard is going to help you more in the playoffs. Most specifically, he helps you in the very things that I'm not sure that anyone on this team is particularly good at, which is handling physicality and generating good shots. 3-point volume is a major issue for the Toronto Raptors. The Toronto Raptors have Scotty Barnes, they have Brandon Ingram, now they have Jaden Bradley. We don't know how much he's going to play. Jamal Shed, Emmanuel quickly sometimes verve into the mid-range. RJ Barrett will sometimes go into the mid-range. Colin Murray-Boyles is, very post elbow extended dominant type of player. Who is the guy who's coming off the bench and launching 8 threes? Because that's a very big necessity. The Raptors haven't addressed that. Like Alan Graves had very promising volume increase at Santa Clara from high school in terms of his 3-point attempt rate, and shooting 41%, no joke. But Jaden Bradley is a mid-range guy. Yesterday I was watching an interview with Jaden Bradley, and he's asked, who did you model your game after? And he said Chris Paul or De'Aaron Fox. And that shows because Chris Paul and De'Aaron Fox live in the mid-range, and so does Jaden Bradley. Now, Jaden Bradley shot 39% from three last year, but it was on very low volume, and he took them very sparingly. His shooting touch and form are perfect, but more and more I think about it, a guy like Jalen Brunson, it doesn't just happen. Learning to take threes at a high volume is a skill in and of itself. Three-point volume is a skill. Kawhi has that skill. You say you want spacing around Scotty Barnes. Kawhi gives you spacing for Scotty's drives. And we saw what Scotty drives when he's not tasked with crazy defensive load can be. We saw what Scotty in the middle of the court can do. And Kawhi, whether it's at the top of the break or, in the dunker spot, there's no weak spots for Kawhi. If you look at Kawhi's shot chart, it's all red. The whole damn thing. Left block, left wing, right wing, above the break. He is a professional bucket getter. He's a professional scorer. What he is not is someone who can generate clean looks for others. And that's where you have Scotty Barnes. I'm going to make a case that Scotty Barnes has a lot in common with Kawhi Leonard physically. But in terms of his game, he actually has a lot in common with Kyle Lowry, which is to say he lives to pass. Well, Kawhi lives to shoot. And these two actually have a beautiful synergistic match. Now, who was Kawhi Leonard? Just say it in the chat. Say it in the chat. It's 2019. The Toronto Raptors have just won. Kawhi Leonard just had the best playoff run since... Say the name. Say the name. What is the name that people were throwing out in 2019 for Kawhi Leonard? He had the best playoff run since... I'll wait. I'll wait all day. Thank you. Yes, sir. What is Scotty Barnes' closest comparison in terms of absolute upside that everybody likes to talk about? Scotty Barnes, Scottie Pippen. This works. It works. Oh, no. Air Jordan? No. Kawhi was not Air Jordan. You know what Kawhi was? Kawhi Leonard in 2019 was the closest thing I have seen to 97, 98 Jordan. Not 89 Jordan, not 87 Jordan, 97, 98 Jordan. The post-dominant Jordan. The angles Jordan. The mid-range fadeaway Jordan. Plus, he was a better three-point shooter. Kawhi is still very capable of giving you 3 to 4 years of some element of that. I'm not comparing him to Jordan exactly, and even as defenders, there's similarities. And Scotty Barnes, there's your point forward. There's the guy who's going to find him in open spots. There's the guy who's going to cut into the dunker. There's the guy who's going to be the playmaking magician, right? That works. That works so well. And I realize the game has changed so tremendously since 1997, 98, when Jordan and Pippen last played together. But the idea of pairing Scotty Barnes with Kawhi Leonard, a 6'7", 6'7", mega scorer who gets it off from every single angle and is a beast on the block and has master footwork and uses big shoulders and strides and proprioceptive, balance to manipulate space and generate clean looks in the mid-range and can pop off for some threes when open, and a big point forward, a 6'8", 6'9" point forward. Yeah, this works. This works. This is the best dynamic duo in the Eastern Conference. I'll say it right now. Scotty Barnes, to me, right now, if he gets a little bit better this offseason, which I know he will, is probably the 11th best player in the NBA. Okay, if you're a skeptic, you'll say 15th. Cool. He's the 15th best player. If Kawhi Leonard maintains his production or even sags off slightly from last year, he's the 7th or 8th best player in the league. Since when has it ever been a bad idea to pair two players who are both top 15 players in the NBA on the same team? And both of them are above 6'7". So someone said the main problem with Kawhi Leonard is he can't stay healthy. You employ Brandon Ingram. How can this be your selling point? The other thing is the defense. Now, we've all talked about how much Scotty Barnes is tasked to do on the defensive end, how much Colin Murray-Boyles and all those guys, they mask up for that. I just want to be clear. Kawhi Leonard played 65 games last year. Kawhi played 37 games the year before, 68 the year before. Kawhi Leonard over the last 2 years has played as many, if not more games than Brandon Ingram. So we can cut that shit out. He's also played over that stretch. He's played 33 minutes a night. Last I checked, he's played more games than LaMelo Ball. He's played more games than Brandon Ingram. He's played more games than Zion Williamson. Where is this injury stuff coming from? He played 52 games the year before. He had one super bad year there. And again, you don't need Kawhi Leonard to play 80 games. The Raptors will load manage him once again, at which point, congratulations. You have Colin Murray-Boyles, you have Jacoby Walter, and against lesser competition, maybe you can load manage him through and through. You still have Alex McKechnie, right? If the Spurs would still have a better offer for Kawhi, the Spurs would still have a better offer for Kawhi. You're assuming that the San Antonio Spurs want to add Kawhi, which is a massive leap of assumption. You're also assuming that they can add Kawhi without getting rid of De'Aaron Fox. You're also failing to realize that the one piece that would get Kawhi, or at least salary-wise, you can't. Okay, so let's just be clear about something. De'Aaron Fox plus Kawhi Leonard on a long-term deal on the same roster isn't happening. The Spurs have to be smart enough to realize, from a cap perspective, that's just not happening without gutting your depth. You're not going to be able to extend Steph Castle in a couple of years without going super deep. And the Spurs they're not a big market team. They're not going to operate into the second apron to accommodate Kawhi. Number two, what you're failing to realize, and I think what a lot of people are failing to realize, is there's actually more smoke for the Raptors than there is for the Spurs, because there's been no confirmed rumor at all that the Spurs are interested in a reunion. All has been said is that Kawhi. So first of all, I want to clarify something. I think this is a game of broken telephone. The initial report when it first dropped yesterday was that Kawhi would be open to an exit from Los Angeles, that he may be looking at a former team. Now, Bobby Marks jumped ahead and said he's talking about San Antonio and Toronto, and people ran with that. I don't think San Antonio is interested in bringing Kawhi back. I don't. I think that's just plausible deniability in case it happens the team in question is San Antonio. I can tell you the team in question is not San Antonio. Kawhi Leonard is not going back to San Antonio. I'm 97% sure of that. Kawhi Leonard will go to one of three places. Actually, is it one of three places? I'm confident in two. I don't know about the third. So I know there's been some rumblings about Miami and whatever. They don't have the money to do it. And Giannis and Kawhi just is a weird thing. I think the two teams that are the most interested, if the Clippers do decide to move off of Kawhi, and if Kawhi and the Clippers decide that it would be better for them to part than for him to spend the rest of his glorious prime chasing a championship that cannot come with the Clippers, it will be the Pistons and the Toronto Raptors. I think Golden State would be an odd third team, but it would require the Clippers to take back Jimmy Butler's contract, which I'm not necessarily sure they want to do. So I think the best offer can come from, I think if the Detroit Pistons offer Asar Thompson on a impulsive, we got to win now, and we're willing to surround Cade, we were a 60-win team, we think we have enough, then unfortunately for the Toronto Raptors, your inability to make a deal for Kawhi is actually inadvertently creating another super team with Cade and Kawhi and Jalen Duren. Like, the Isaiah Stewart salary dump that the Pistons just created, I believe, is to move into the territory where they could maybe take back a Kawhi Leonard deal without going massively into the cap. It may also be a way to create the space to re-sign Jalen Duren, which is kind of ironic because Isaiah Stewart was Jalen Duren's big brother, and he's a huge part of why Jalen Duren has developed the way he has. But nevertheless, the salary dump could be for a different reason. However, Tobias Harris, Dennis Jenkins, Ron Holland, Asar Thompson, there's plenty of assets that maybe the Clippers would be more interested in. However, I think the Raptors have a very clean offer here. Now, I'm not willing to offer Jacoby Walter in place of Grady Dick to make this work because I'm just very high on Jacoby Walter. But maybe the Raptors aren't as high on Jacoby Walter as I think they are. I mean, I know that they are, but it would be really, it's really hard to pass up on Kawhi because the fit on this roster is so seamless. He is exactly what Brandon Ingram is not. You have concerns about Ingram and Barrett and whatever defensively. I don't have those concerns about Kawhi. He's an awesome system defender, and he can occasionally switch out and he can guard the post. You have concerns about guys not getting up enough threes. Well, Kawhi's going to get up a lot more threes than those guys, and he's going to make a lot more of them because he's a better shooter than those guys. You have concerns about, obviously, playoff performance and dipping and, spacing. Kawhi doesn't have those issues. You have a perfect system right now to function around an isolation scorer like this. And Kawhi is, like, really, apart from, Kevin Durant, which I think comes with even more baggage and even more age, I think Kawhi is the best one available. You're not going to get a player who's a top 10 player that often. And again, the part of this that really seals it for me is this is not a 1-year rental, right? Now, you could say that might not be the greatest thing in the world, Rob, because if Kawhi comes here and he wants a 4-year extension, you're signing up for the good and the bad, because by 37, he might be absolutely washed. He might be permanently injured. He might be medically retired. And maybe he knows that. Maybe he knows that that's where I say the Toronto thing is real. Because Cass said, Cheap Seats doesn't believe in Graves at all. That's okay. That's okay. People are allowed to not believe in Alan Graves. That's cool. I really believe in him. The more I watched of him last night, the more excited I got. Yeah, I called up someone this morning and I said, man, I'm really falling in love with this guy. Like, I think he's like, there's small things, like, again, you're going to watch highlight tapes of him. Maybe it's not appealing, but I'm watching like all those dead pause moments in between games. And I'm seeing like how locked in he is on his teammates and his coaches, and how locked in he is in huddles, and how he responds to getting like punched a little bit, like knocked off his spot, or how he, there's a competitive fire with this guy. Like, they don't let this, little smile fool you. Like, he's a dog. Like, he has just, he'll throw elbows. He'll bump guys. He'll set hard screens. Like, he'll dive on loose balls. Like, dude, that alligator story is hilarious to me, because it's like, how unheard of that is for a person who doesn't live around alligators, like in Louisiana and Florida. Like, people who don't deal with alligators every single day only see alligators on, like, on television. And the idea that a guy would go into a river that has alligators to fetch a loose ball, dude, I know people who wouldn't go into a river with piranhas to fetch a loose ball. Like, I grew up around a lot of city folks, right? And it's just like, it was kind of cool because, I lived in Tennessee for a bit, and you get a very different perspective on like how people feel about shit, man. I remember going down to Tennessee, and it was Thanksgiving, and our neighbor brought over, my parents will never let me forget this. My parents would have never let me forget this. They brought over anaconda as food. Dude, what? Y'all eat anacondas around here? I was off it. I never tried it. Thank God. I can always say I never tried eating a snake, but holy shit. Would you fight a moose? A moso? What's a moso? No, that's not a pausable offense. I'm not letting Nicki Minaj make me have to pause. Okay. He'll be a family man this year. He's locked in. Alan Graves is married. Yeah. He is married. I'm gonna research that a little bit more before I talk to his coach. So anyways, like, it's a really good fit, and I honestly believe if you do manage to make a trade for Kawhi, now I think a few things happen. Number one, you become a much better team in the Eastern Conference. Number two, I think your shot quality goes up exponentially. Number three, I think Scotty is going to have a phenomenal year playing next to Kawhi, because I think it takes so much pressure off of him from an isolation scoring perspective, but also from a spacing perspective. I think Kawhi could do a wonderful job of just alleviating the matchup for him. So basically doing very similar things to Brandon Ingram without all the dribble ISO nonsense. The fourth thing that I think really what this does is it stops Detroit from becoming a mega contender in your own conference, because I don't want to think about the idea of going through Cade Cunningham and Kawhi Leonard for the next 3 years of Scotty Barnes' prime. Number 5, I think because Kawhi coming to Toronto, because there's already established base in Toronto, I think it would be such a financial boost for ticket sales and MLSC marketing and all that stuff. I think Keith Pelly and MLSC would give the Raptors the green light to spend into the apron, and that would open up the possibility of bringing back Sandro Mamukelashvili. The final thing that I think this would do is, if perchance this is a follow-up to get more immediacy, like through a Miles Turner, Kyrie Irving, etc., I think this will also open the floodgates to Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr. Like competent shooting vets who would just like to come and ride a championship coattail on Kawhi. Look, whatever fans feel about Kawhi, and I know he gets trolled a lot, especially after the Pablo Torre accusations and investigation last year. I don't call it accusations because those shit was founded in reality. No matter how people feel about it, NBA players feel very differently about Kawhi Leonard. When you listen to podcasts, interviews, if you've ever talked to an NBA player, listen to them in scrums, there is such a massive respect for this guy. People will come to play with him. People will come to play with him. People will be excited to take a minimum contract to come and chase the championship as the shooter off the bench for Kawhi. So for a multitude of reasons, I think this is something that the Raptors absolutely have to pursue. It's nice to know that they're willing to do it. It's nice to know that Kawhi would sign an extension in Toronto, because Detroit does not, allegedly, according to the report, have that assurance. So if the Detroit Pistons trade for Kawhi, they're trading without the extension. And I think that's where this deal is like, oh, wow, this is real. Because Detroit can offer a better piece. They're closer to the contention. Cade is probably a little bit further along in his development than some of the Raptors, especially Scotty Barnes. He's not better. I'll never concede that he's better, but he's further along. His game is more mature than Scotty's. They may see themselves as being a more complete team coming off of a 60-win season, but in order to trade someone of really significant value, so we're not talking just a Tobias Harris dump, because honestly, if one offers Tobias Harris and the other offers RJ Barrett, give me RJ Barrett. If one offers Tobias and Duncan Robinson and the other offer is Brandon Ingram, I mean, shit, if I'm the Clippers, Ingram will sell more tickets on his own than that combination. So the Raptors will have the better package. But if Detroit had the assurance that Kawhi was there for the long haul, if Kawhi, without sight unseen, was willing to sign a deal with that organization, with Tom Gores and the front office there, if he was willing to trust them sight unseen and sign the extension the day he gets traded there, then I think they might add future pick equity, Ron Holland, possibly. I doubt Asar Thompson's on the table because he's awesome, but like maybe the thing that sweetens the deal is one of those guys. And in that situation, the Raptors will be put out, because there's no way you can compete with an offer that includes Ron Holland and multiple picks, right? You'd have to sell over yourself, and we know that the Raptors are not going to outbid themselves unless, of course, it comes down to a Jakob Poeltl extension. We got a couple of super chats here. I want to appreciate Omer Sadiq 90 said, Penn, Austin Reeves getting a max is bad news for the Raptors and RJ. I understand he's better than RJ, but RJ won't take less than 35 and 40 million. Well, he can get the hell out then. He is not worth anything close to Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves was so much better than RJ Barrett last year. And yeah, it didn't happen in the playoffs. And RJ Barrett has a case that it did happen for him in the playoffs. And maybe it's not Brandon Ingram and Grady Dick. Maybe it's RJ Barrett and Jakob Poeltl that end up going to the Clippers, and then you use RJ Barrett and Jakob Poeltl that go to the Clippers, and then you use maybe Emmanuel Quickley or Brandon Ingram, because I don't think you're gonna have Ingram and Scotty on this. You're gonna have Ingram, Kawhi, and Scotty on the same team. That's just very weirdly redundant. Maybe in that case, you then use, so if you get Jakob Poeltl and RJ Barrett to the Clippers, and you give them a pick, they get a center. They just lost Ivica Zubac. They don't really have one. They get RJ Barrett. They invest long-term in him and Keaton Wagler and that younger core, then you would use probably Ingram to get an upgrade at center, and maybe quickly to get an upgrade at point guard, and then you add picks or young players or some sort of take on bad salary. Drew Holiday would be an incredible, situation here, I think, for the Raptors or the Hornets, quite frankly. Drew Holiday would be amazing to bring into that core. So, yeah. Araf Haroon, 1823, said, my big fear with Kawhi is injuries or the NBA suspends him after he gets traded here, and now we just gave up assets for nothing. Yes. But what happens to his contract if he's suspended for an entire year? Does the contract get suspended? Does it get voided? That might be a situation for the Raptors to explore, depending on how high they are on Brandon Ingram, take the risk that the NBA won't ban them. However, I would trust that the Raptors would do their due diligence, and they would know that there is a sub-zero chance that he's going to get suspended after he gets traded. And I don't see why he would get suspended necessarily. When Joe Smith was, the tampering allegations with Joe Smith, it was the Minnesota Timberwolves that got docked picks. So it's the Clippers who should get docked, not Kawhi Leonard. I would actually wonder if that was something there. I also wonder, and this is more conspiratorial than reporting or anything that I've actually heard from someone who's credible, but I also wonder if the NBA might want to put some pressure on the Clippers to trade Kawhi Leonard, given that it's probably just very bad optically. I think there's been a lot of external pressure put on the Clippers that, hey, the NBA hasn't done anything about this. How are they, letting this happen? We all saw the proof. We all saw this. And it's a bad look for the NBA. And I think every single time Kawhi dresses up for the Clippers and steps into the Intuit Dome, there's a reminder of all the, fraudulent shit that happened. And I'll let you know that the Raptors have a case that they should have been given draft picks for what happened with Kawhi. They tampered all year to get Kawhi. And so in a lot of ways, this is karma. The Raptors getting Kawhi back is karma. And, again, this is something that maybe it's very tea leaves conspiratorial, but maybe Adam Silver is the one who can put in the call and just say, listen, like, if he's going anywhere, he's going right back to Toronto. And this is your penalty. You stole him from the Raptors. You offered him something that the Raptors legally could not offer. You scouted him all year. You showed up to Raptor games. And had you not tampered, there was a fair chance that he actually comes back to Toronto. But because you unfairly wooed him all year and then gave him extra money on the side, he, I'm not going to say Kawhi's a victim here, but he was compelled to receive the higher offer that the Raptors couldn't match. So in a lot of ways, Kawhi returning to Toronto doesn't even scratch the surface of comeuppance, right? So this is how I would see it. At least I don't know if that's a fair take or a common sense take, but for me personally, like, Kawhi should have never left. Like, Kawhi should have been a Raptor. We should have run it back. We were a great team for the next year after him. And had he come back, I feel like there's another championship waiting for you, because I'd certainly trust the Raptors to win a championship instead of the Lakers. So, he ended a dynasty, and that dynasty fell apart, and he left to try and create a new dynasty. Honestly, so much of NBA history has been shaped by Kawhi's decision. So much. The Raptors don't repeat, never have a chance to repeat. Is there a sense from Kawhi of unfinished business? How many times do you think Kawhi Leonard has heard from somebody, I wonder if we would have been better off staying in Toronto. I wonder if we would have been better off staying in Toronto. And he's probably just rebuked it and said, no, I'm an LA kid. I wanted to play home. I wanted to play at home. Okay, cool. You played at home. Now, it's time to cement the legacy of one of the 50 greatest players of all time. And I think another championship in Toronto would do wonders for his top 25 case. Not that he's somebody who's overly obsessed with the top 25 case, but maybe the basketball gods and Adam Silver and NBA fans in general could be invested in this homecoming, because it's a great homecoming. And no, this is not the same as, let's bring Tracy McGrady back when he's 36 years old and has back issues. No, this is not the same as, we should sign Vince Carter to a minimum contract when, he's 42 years old so he can win a championship with the Raptors. Those would have been emotionally great. Maybe cathartic even. Not so much the Tracy thing. This is not even like, oh, let's give Chris Bosh a 10-day and let's see if he can play through blood clots. This is not the same thing. This is a franchise legend who legitimately could come back and make a case that number 2 should be retired in Toronto. Because the only argument that Kawhi Leonard's number 2 doesn't get retired in Toronto is he didn't play long enough. Cool. Play for 3 years. Play for 3 years. Then we'll trade you back to LA, the LA Lakers, wherever the hell you want to go after that. There's a lot of utility. So here's what I would do. I would trade them any combination of the assets that y'all know I don't care too much about. Grady Dick, RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, although I'm more hesitant to move off quickly, Brandon Ingram, Jakob Poeltl. This and possibly 1 first-round pick. Any concoction. This is a choose your own adventure for the Clippers. This is our asset pile. This is a buffet. Take whatever you want and we'll take back. Now, there's definitely ways to expand this deal to make even more sense for the Raptors. If we want to, talk about that for a second. We can expand this deal and let's try to do that. Do something that makes even more sense here. So we can expand this deal and we could maybe take Brandon Ingram out of this because Brandon Ingram is probably going somewhere else in that situation. Hey, Masai Ujiri. Kyrie Irving for Brandon Ingram. Reunite the Duke boys. Let's do it. RJ Barrett. Jakob Poeltl. And in this situation, give us Brook Lopez. Derrick Jones. Does that work? 57, 50. The Raptors are taking back too much money. We'd have to add something else. We actually don't have anything else to add, unfortunately. So take him out, put him back in, and now it works. So something like this could also work. You get a perfectly fine player who fits into your system, and Brook Lopez plays drop big. You get a spacing big to open up some space here. They get a slightly younger player who, granted, is on an albatross of a contract. You might even have to add another pick to get off that Jakob contract. And in the case of Derrick Jones and Brook Lopez, it opens up, some cap space next summer to potentially tinker around the edges, and you get off that albatross Jakob Poeltl contract. And now you can use RJ Barrett's expiring to go and fish for maybe an upgrade at point guard, and you still have Emmanuel Quickley on the team. So, this is why would the Clippers agree to do that? Well, again, this comes down to Brandon Ingram is younger. Brandon Ingram is an all-star. You get a first-round pick. And Kawhi Leonard is going to be very, very fussy if you try to send him somewhere that he doesn't want to go. So this is either a Kawhi gets his money with the Clippers, and if they don't want to play ball, then he wants to go to Toronto. I'm not seeing another option for the Clippers. That's the thing. Now, the Clippers can say, fuck you, Kawhi, and just trade him to the Detroit Pistons, and the Pistons would have to give them an offer better than this. But I'm asking you, are they willing to give him an offer better than this without an agreement from Kawhi that he will resign? And if Kawhi Leonard is basically doing, look, this is the Kawhi MO. He did this with the Spurs. He said, I will sign an extension with the LA Lakers or the LA Clippers. I will not sign an extension in Toronto, which he may do on. I will not sign an extension with the Boston Celtics, which is why they backed off. The Boston Celtics would have traded Jaylen Brown sight unseen for Kawhi Leonard if he was willing to sign an extension. Okay? So this is the point. He's done this before. This is his MO. Except this time, it's not Kawhi is pushing his way to LA. It's actually this time he's saying, give me what I want, or I want to go to Toronto. And I don't think that San Antonio is involved in this at all, because I just don't believe that De'Aaron Fox and Darius Garland is at all viable at all. Like, why would you ever do that? Fox is making insane amounts of money. Ingram is at the very least an expiring. So I don't know. I mean, this is how I see it. And, if it never happens and Kawhi just, quietly, signs the extension with the Clippers, then the Toronto Raptors, were used as leverage. You know who else used the Toronto Raptors as leverage? Steve Nash. When he was a free agent, he used the Toronto Raptors as leverage to get the most money possible from the Lakers. And why did he use the Raptors as leverage? Why did he use the Knicks as leverage when everyone in his inner circle knew that he was never, ever, ever going to leave the West Coast because he wanted to be close to his kids in Phoenix, et cetera, his family? He was going through some tough shit. He used those teams because it was viable that he would want to go back home. Sometimes you bluff. Sometimes people call your bluff, right? You think about it. Now, the last time somebody used the Raptors as leverage was Steve Nash. The Raptors shot themselves in the foot by with the Landry Fields deal. If people remember this, like you're a real Raptor fan if you remember the Landry Fields thing. And then how did that work out for the Raptors? The Raptors were left without a point guard, and then they traded for Kyle Lowry, who is the greatest Raptor of all time. So, maybe the Raptors clear the runway for Kawhi. They make an aggressive push. And suddenly, now that they've pursued Kawhi, something else opens up. But I genuinely think, look, the Raptors have been interested in Jaren Jackson, Derek White, Kawhi Leonard. What is that telling you? We want players who can defend and shoot around Scotty Barnes. Okay. So, you know what RJ Barrett is not? A player who can defend and shoot, because he can barely do either. That's the point here. The Raptors have a clear type. They're going after a clear type. And, whether they draft Colin Murray-Boyles because he's just so good of a defensive prospect, whether they draft Alan Graves instead of picking up Cam Carr, and you're like, but if they want a guy who can shoot, why did they pick a guy who, can't shoot as well as this other guy? I understand that. I'm not saying they'll draft a guy who can defend and shoot at all costs, or they'll trade for, I'm not suggesting they're going to trade 4 first-round picks for Tamani Kamara just because they want a guy who can defend and shoot. I'm saying there's a type. There's an archetype here. These guys have long arms, big hands, positional versatility, and they defend and they shoot. They provide space. So Kawhi is an extension of the exact same idea that would have you exploring talks with Derek White, Cameron Johnson. These are all targets that I know for a fact that the Raptors have gone after. Jaren Jackson. That's why the Domantas Sabonis shit doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make sense to me at all. This is not in that thought process. So if the Raptors have, you could almost enter it into an AI model. If a team pursued Derek White, Jaren Jackson, and Kawhi Leonard, give me a list of 10 targets that fit that model. What would that team be targeting? That's the player that the Raptors want. It's a very clear archetype. The Raptors have also, explored Kevin Durant. It's the same thing. You want space, you want length, you want defense around Scotty Barnes. I'd be good with Miles Turner at this point, honestly. Miles Turner would be I would look at Jalen Smith from Chicago. Could we get both Walker and Kawhi? Well, Danny Ainge is notoriously prickly to deal with around this time of the year. But if they don't want to pay Walker Kessler, I don't know what the Raptors would have to offer that would appeal to them. I've never really understood how that deal would work. But I thought CMB had a good stroke for the few threes he took. He just needs to take more. Was limited threes due to a hand injury. Yes, his 3-point shooting fell off a cliff after the finger injury, hand injury, and my understanding on this is his touch improved significantly throughout the season, and that they long term there always was a vision that Colin Murray-Boyles would be a reasonable shooter from the corners at least. Can Scotty learn how to play offensive and defensive from Kawhi? You're talking about a guy who was supposed 2-time All-Star, was supposed to be All-NBA this year. He doesn't need to learn how to play offense and defense. What he needs to do is learn how to play off of 2 feet and learn how to get his game off in 3 dribbles, and probably he needs to find a partner, in Kawhi who can take off some of the spacing load that he has to carry and defensive load that he has to carry, right? Can you imagine a front court of Colin Murray-Boyles, Scotty Barnes? Can you imagine a lineup of Scotty Barnes, Colin Murray-Boyles, Allen Graves, and Kawhi Leonard on the court together with Emmanuel Quickly? Like, do you just see the do you see the defense? Do you see the vision? Yikes. Shiv said, from AI, Herb Jones, Jade McDaniels, Dyson Daniels, Tamani Kamara, Mikal Bridges, Evan Mobley, Jalen Williams, Franz Wagner, OG Anunoby, Drew Holiday, 10 players list. And you know what's funny? I'm almost convinced that if any one of these players came up, the Raptors would be interested. There is a type. There's a type. Need a rim protector still. I agree, but it helps that you can protect the rim by committee. Kawhi gives you rim protection. So does Allen Graves. So does Scotty Barnes. So does Colin Murray-Boyles. You don't need one rim protector when you have 4 rim protectors as much. Although I understand that there is a consoling, thought process of like, oh, we have Hassan Whiteside in there or we have Walker Kessler in there, but I think it's overblown. Who do we want in a reasonable trade makes sense for us? You can backtrack about throughout this entire show. I've pitched a couple of trades that I think makes a lot of sense for us. Is there anything that I need to talk about right now? Oh, yes. I do briefly want to talk about the Raptors Exhibit 10 signing. Give me 1 second. Nate Biddle, 7'6" wingspan. Man, this guy's cool. Like he's really interesting. Like I think he sort of fits just like what the Raptors want, right? And I think he is a slightly better bet on upside than Brendan Carlson was. So to people who were somewhat like salty that, oh my God, the Raptors got rid of Brendan Carlson, I think this is probably a better bet than Brendan Carlson. My desktop is so flooded and disorganized right now. I can't even find my folder of Nate Biddle stuff. Hang on. Pull this up. Yikes. I need to clear up, man. I need to clear up so bad. Also, this is my first hatless podcast in a few weeks now. Been wearing a hat. Been wearing that hat pretty tight because my face was in shambles. But okay, so Nate Biddle, we're talking about a guy who is a legit 7-footer, in shoes 7'1", 7'6" wingspan, skinny as hell, 250, but just gets moved off his spot, high center of gravity. Okay. But his passing from his position is good. Not great. It's not great. It's not a Daimara, but it's very good. He has incredible shot blocking instincts. He has shown a tremendous amount of growth as a shooter. He shot 36% above the break last year on 44 attempts, which is good. He is reasonable from the corners. He is not dynamic. It is pure catch and shoot shit. This is not Kristaps Porzingis. This is a guy who can shoot, though. And the free throw percentage, I believe, was encouraging. Hold on, let me just see this here. What was the free throw percentage? He shot... Where the hell are we? Sorry. Free throw percentage. He shot a ton of free throws. His usage went through the roof last year, right? So this is a guy who, he did great around, his touch around the rim was awesome. He was 67% true shooting at the rim, blocked, as I mentioned, a ton of shots. His best season was probably the year prior to this one, but he had a more complicated and more advanced role with higher usage this year. And, at times maybe struggled. I think if he comes out last year, he probably gets drafted. I mean, he was definitely on my draft radar last year. He is slow. In space, he is a little slow. He is also a little bit clunky with his movement patterns. This is not a fluid mover at 7 feet. He's not even Jay Huff in terms of moving, but he has functional patterns that I think will be okay at the NBA level, provided he can become a little bit more coordinated as an athlete. He is officially 23 years old, so this is not nearly as bad as the Brendan Carlson bet, but he is definitely on the older side. If you're waiting for a guy to just, blossom like 19-year-old, this is not that. little bit inconsistent at times, depending on which game you watch. Of him at Oregon, he's either like really dialed in, really, really intense, or sometimes a little bit invisible. And for a guy with a 7'6" wingspan, you should never be invisible on a basketball court. But I saw great flashes of intensity and nastiness. And this is a thing that I have learned to value in my bigs. Are you nasty? Do you snarl? Do you protect the rim? There's an intimidation factor when you're this tall that you just put your arms up and you could just, your presence on the court is going to impact shots. This is going to be a G League bet for the Raptors, but a bet that I very much feel has a better chance to make it in the Raptors system than most of the 7-footers they've taken bets on in the past. This is a good flyer to take. I wonder personally if, teams might be overthinking it a little bit with him, because I genuinely felt like before I saw who fell to 50, this was probably like the guy I was hoping for at 50. So the fact that the Raptors got him, this is great, man. Look, last year I had Elijah Martin so low, like so low. And I had Chucky Hepburn even lower than that. When the Raptors picked those two guys, I was genuinely shocked. This year, the Raptors picked three guys that I really liked. They didn't pick exactly the guy I would have taken, because if I had it my way, we would have had probably Jaden Quaintance at 20 instead of Alan Graves. At 50, we would have taken Henri Vesar, but obviously that wasn't available. If not that, we would have taken Onyenso. And, Nate Biddle would not be a Raptor, but Nate Biddle was so close. Same thing with Alan Graves and Jaden Bradley. Every single player that we've picked up here was within 3 to 4 slots of where I had them on my Raptors big board. So it made me happy that I got a little bit better at guessing what the Raptors want to do. And honestly, I want to just say this. I wasn't always the highest on Alan Graves. Throughout the year, I've gone back and forth on him multiple times. I've kind of gone like, oh my God, this guy could be discount Cam Boozer, Al Horford, supercharged Jorge Garbajosa, to, I think this is a fluke. He did this against bad competition. He's coming off the bench. Look at these numbers. Look at that numbers. That blow by was bad. Oh, that blow by was bad. That shot is too low. That shot's going to get blocked at the next level. This guy's not athletic. Oh, this guy, he's a little bit chubby. He's slow. His passing is a little bit overrated. I've second guessed myself so many times. But one thing that always got me back to it was there's no way the Raptors are putting Alan Graves on the same team with Colin Murray-Boyle, Scotty Barnes, and Jonathan Mobley. There's no fucking way this team has the guts to do that. And I just kept thinking like, nope. It's never going to happen, never going to happen, never going to happen. And then they did it. So I, for one, would like to apologize, and just say, I'm sorry. I thought the Raptors didn't have the balls to do this. I also didn't think that they would think to do this, but they think differently. And I'm happy that they think better than I do, because after watching everything, but when I made my final big board, I'd watched six Alan Graves games. I've now watched 13, and I intend to watch 5 more over the next 5 days, and hopefully I'll get to all of his games, because I just want to know, cool thing about draft evaluation is when a Adu Thiero pops off for the Lakers in a random garbage time moment, I know more about Adu Thiero than everyone else I'm on the panel with. I'm devoting myself to this in a very big way. I want to do more draft eval stuff going forward. Maybe at some point I'll start a completely separate channel for draft evaluation and get super, super locked into that world, because I do enjoy it. I love the idea of being able to project what's going to happen and, being able to scout. And it's just a great learning opportunity. It flexes my brain. It forces me to get outside my comfort zone. I never thought I'd be watching Northwestern tape, but there you go. There we are. We're watching Northwestern tape. So, I think you were trolling. I thought you were trolling when you said this, but I got to say this. He's fluid. The issue that I had with, when people were saying like, oh, the Raptors should take Henri Vesar. He's not fluid. He's hitchy. I trust fluid movers. Luka's fluid. See, Luka's slow. Jokic is slow, but their movement is not disjointed. Alan Graves may be a little slow, but he's fluid, right? Like, he may be in a below the rim finisher, but he's coordinated. And this level of athleticism, people were saying Keaton Vogler is not a good athlete. I think Keaton Vogler is one of the best athletes in the NBA. How people measure athleticism is wrong, I think, in terms of draft circles. But, luckily, and like I remember that phenomenal conversation I had with Craft Athletics. Shout outs to John McCall. And I remember in that we were talking about like proprioceptive athleticism, hand-eye coordination, fascia, fluidity, footwork, deceleration. These are not things that very easily are measured in a draft combine situation. I remember Lawrence Frank got on the podium after they picked Keaton Vogler, and he said, yeah, he missed like every single shot in practice and then hit every single shot in the game that we watched. Like, some people, it's just these, like, I'll trust P3 to do, a proper athletic testing, but the combine is archaic. Weight testing, bench press, like, what is it teaching you? Yeah, if you have a phenomenal athlete, they're going to test out of the world, but there's sometimes really good athletes that just kind of go under the radar because you're testing for the wrong things. So, yeah, this is a great one. Paul Pierce was so slow. He really wasn't that fast. Now, I'm not comparing Paul Pierce as an athlete to Alan Graves, but I'm just saying Paul Pierce was really slow. Al Horford was really slow. This is where I say you have to reduce this to, do you win your spot or not? Kawhi Leonard wins his spot. Larry Bird won his spot. Right? Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant also win their spots. So does Vince Carter. It's just like, but when you look at Vince Carter being successful and you look at Allen Houston being successful at the exact same time in the exact same era, you have to ask yourself, what's the similarity here? They get to their spots. That's it. That's the only similarity. Nikola Jokic gets to his spots. If you watch Nikola Jokic in Serbia, you would know that even though he's not very fast and he's not terribly, whatever, the craft and his footwork always meant that when he took a shot, he was open. Like the best test, when you're doing all of this scouting work, is just to freeze the shot at the contest. Is it bothered? Is it changing? How close, are we? How much space is generated before the shot is attempted is the greatest marker of success. And, it's like, and then you have to project. Okay, let's add 10% strength here. Now, how much space is there? Let's raise this shooting form up 2 inches. Let's speed it up by 0.2 seconds, et cetera, et cetera. This is where I don't think draft evaluation is the same thing with Bennett Sturts. Oh, he'll never work off the ball. And who drafts him? Sam Presti, who's on the same team with 30-point per game scorer Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Because you know why? Because they know, even though he's never really had to do it, that he has perfectly functional skills to play off the ball. There is projection in drafting. And that's, where I really draw the line on draft flops is usually when people think there's going to be a one-to-one translation and role and style from the NCAA to, and that's where you end up with Anthony Bennett, Josh Jackson, guys like that, Marquise Chris, Stromile Swift, like the biggest, Michael Olowokandi, James Wiseman, when you start thinking there's going to be a direct translation from one-to-one to the NBA to the college, you're fooling yourself. There's never a one-to-one translation. It's years of development until you can get even close to that level. So, yeah. Anyways, I'm happy with Alan Graves. I hope you guys are too, man. I hope people, don't flood his comments with, we should have picked LeBaron Philon. And I really hope people don't jump off the cliff early when, if he struggles a little bit in summer league. He's going to struggle for sure, but he's going to win you over so quickly. I'll make you a deal. Within 1 year, you'll be very big Alan Graves fans. I've become more and more of a fan of his. The more I watch him, the more I listen to his interviews, I'm just like, how can you not root for this guy? How can you not root for, look, he makes so many good decisions. He never cheats on effort. He's always diving for loose balls. He's tough as nails. You gotta just root for this guy. And so, yes, and I'll have that interview out tomorrow. We will do an Alan Graves and Jaden Bradley film session. I gotta say, Jaden Bradley's really talented, but I've got some question marks. I've definitely got some question marks, but this is a good pick for the Raptors. He was, I think, 42nd on my board, and we got him at 50. That's good. And my internal board, I had him at 39, but I moved him down a little bit because unfortunately I watched Jaden Bradley a little too much last year when I was scouting Carter Bryant. And because Carter was one of my favorite prospects, I would actually genuinely get pissed off every single time Jaden Bradley didn't pass him the ball. So, Jaden has a very old school shot diet. Someone actually messaged me and said, he reminds me of TJ Ford. yeah, he's not quite as twitchy or quick as TJ Ford. He's not lightning quick, but he's also not 5'10". So yeah, the shot diet is TJ Ford-esque. Can we watch the press conference for the rookies? When is that? When is the press conference for the rookies? Because I know that are they already in Toronto? I don't even know if they are. Bradley moves like Wes Matthews. Yeah. Yeah. There's that's a pull, man. That is definitely a pull. They're already in Toronto. It happened. They in Toronto already. Oh shit. Okay. Yes, we can watch. Yes, we can watch. Hang on. I'll pull it up. Hang on. Let me pull it up. Is it? Am I pulling up the? Is it on the Toronto Raptors official, or is it on? Is it just on Hello and Welcome? Because I'm not seeing it on the Toronto Raptors. Oh, nope. So it's on Hello and Welcome. Okay. Well, hopefully I don't get a copyright strike for this, but I will pull it up and we will react to it and give full credit to Hello and Welcome for posting this stuff. I don't know why the Raptors wouldn't post this themselves. Obviously, like the picture quality would be a hell of a lot better than a phone, but okay, cool. Pull this up here. One sec. Okay, give me one sec here. Pull this up. Alan Graves. Okay, this video is from Hello and Welcome. Yes. So we will do a small film breakdown on Jaden Bradley and Alan Graves. I may upload it as a video as opposed to a live, and then we have to do a members live to make up for last Sunday. So yeah. Okay, let's do this.
Thanks, everyone. We're really excited to welcome Alan and his family to Toronto and to OVO. One more.
There he is.
And with that, happy to take questions. Go ahead, everybody.
Welcome to Toronto. What has the last 48 hours been? What's the phone been like? Who's been reaching out to you?
It's been crazy. The whole town of Ponchatoula, just to start off with that.
I love how he always brings up his hometown. I've heard him bring up his hometown about 40 times in all the pre-draft interviews that he's done that are posted. Ponchatoula, Louisiana, Dude, represent. You the first person from your hometown who's ever been drafted to the NBA in the first round. How do you feel about that?
Literally the whole town has hit my phone, and just really appreciative for them. Just the support that they've shown me throughout this whole process. In the last 48 hours, man, it's been surreal feeling. It's been crazy. That's all I keep saying every time I talk to my family. I'm like, man, this is crazy. Man, this is crazy. It's just really, really amazing feeling, just being able to go through this and being as fortunate and blessed by God to be here and be sitting here before y'all at such an amazing program. And just really excited, really happy to be here.
I will say this. Gratitude is one of the greatest predictors of success ever in every walk of life. Undefeated.
I apologize. Alan doesn't know you guys, so if you could just introduce yourself and where you're from, that'd be great.
Lindsay, the Nation Network. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Alan Smith, the Toronto Stars.
Yuck. You will hate him, Alan Graves.
How about what's the town like, and why is it? How's it formed you?
My Ponchatoula? Oh man, it's a small town. We maybe have about 8,000 people in Ponchatoula, but it's everybody knows everybody kind of town. So it's just everybody supports everybody. You know, we're all very supportive of each other. We want to see each other succeed, and it's just a big growing community now. And then you got a little bit of everything. You got the swamp, you got gators, all that stuff, all that good stuff, and then you also great food spots. Louisiana, you get some good food down there wherever you go.
This is going to be another sugar on frosted flakes situation. We need to get him into the weight room. I'm telling you, I watched this guy enough. He was not in great shape. Okay, he was not in great shape. He needs to get stronger. He needs to get leaner. There's good weight and there's bad weight. He had a lot of bad weight. I saw some of his, and I'm going to talk to his coach about this tonight. But I saw some of his some of his tape from practice. I think last night I saw some of his tape from practice in his red shirt. Like, my God, like, he didn't look like a basketball player. He did not physically look like a basketball player. So, yeah, like, this is a guy who needs a strength and training program in the worst way.
But just, but really, just the people. You're gonna meet a whole bunch of nice people that are just caring. No matter if you're a stranger, no matter if they know you, they're gonna act like you've been in their household for 50 years.
So that was your support you felt from them as you were growing up and
started
on this path?
Yes, sir, for sure. Growing up, for me, it was definitely. I had my brother and my dad and my whole family. My brother, he played at LSU, sister played at Auburn. So the town supported them, and then just watching me, they always was telling me, yeah, you next up, you're gonna be the one, go all the way, you're gonna be the one to make it, and look at me now.
I want to be clear about something. He gave up money to come out and be a pro. That sounds crazy to say, but it's true. I heard yesterday that there were very, very big NIL offers for him if he wanted to go back to school for another year, test himself out in the Big 10, Big 12. Pac-10, like, if there were offers, like, coaches were picking up the phone and calling him, and what he said was, whether I get a promise or not, I am coming out. He made declaration on a podcast, I believe, with Cameron Johnson, which is just so ironic, right? Leclerc saying, yeah, Duke wanted him, I guess, to replace Cam Boozer. And I mean, had he gone to Duke or BYU or one of those programs and finished out another year, I'm quite confident he's a lottery pick next year. So you get him a year early, you're gonna effectively do the same thing. But I just thought, like, the red shirt decision from him to come off the bench, it showed that he knew what he wanted, and that was the thing. Like, he was asked in an interview, and I don't know if he's gonna be asked in this interview, like, so when did you want to become when did you want to become an NBA player? He's like, yeah, when I was 4 years old, I wanted to be an NBA player. Is he taller than Scotty? Yes, by like half an inch. He's taller than Scotty by like half an inch.
Alan, Josh Lindbergh with TSN, congratulations and welcome. Your path to becoming an NBA level prospect and obviously a first round pick was pretty unconventional. At what point did it start to feel real? Not just something that was a goal or a dream, but something that you felt was actually attainable?
Definitely, I'd say this season for sure. Just the back half, conference play. I say a switch flipped in my mind, like just being willing to go out there and showcase what I can do. And just really, like, that's when it really felt real. I say the first time was after Gonzaga. I played Gonzaga at Gonzaga. After that game, I was like, I know, all right, I'm going to get it this year. Not next year, not the next, but I'm going to get it this year. And that was, like I said, that's when that the switch flipped in my head. And, really thankful towards my brother. He was a big part of that. He came out there right before one of the games, right when conference started, and we worked out and we started watching film, getting everything going. And once we started doing that, it just slowed down even more the game and really helped me to be here right now.
There's always that learning curve for young players in the league, and you are a very young player, but at the same time, you talk to people about you or you read about you and your game, and one of the first things that comes up is obviously the NBA ready body, the NBA ready mentality, mature beyond your years. How ready do you feel in taking this step?
I mean, I feel ready. I wouldn't have took it if I didn't think that I was ready and I was able to play at this level. I feel like I can compete with the best of them, and that's why I wanted to be in the NBA, because this is the best competition in the world, and just being able to go out there and showcase that I belong is what I've been doing my whole life, proving everybody wrong, and that's what I plan to do here at this next level.
Alan, I see your Raptors Republic basketball into Toronto. You the other day were talking about how you had a funny story about your growth spurt. I'm curious what this funny story is.
Well, since I'm here now, so my mom actually, so this growth spurt, I was 6 foot, went to 6'7" my freshman and sophomore summer. And so I hurt my elbow and got my shooting arm. So I was like, I think I'm gonna quit football. I love football. Growing up in Louisiana, you kind of have to play football. You gotta love it. So that was my first love. I love football. I played quarterback and wide receiver. And
you know, a guy who grew up playing football, plus a guy who grew up playing point guard and grew to 6'8". Can you tell why the Raptors were obsessed with this guy? Yep.
When I got hurt, I was like, look, Mom, I'm gonna quit. Like my brother played at LSU, my sister played at Auburn. Well, I wouldn't say quit. I wouldn't put it like that because I finished the season. But I say I think I'm gonna focus on basketball. And I was like, my brother played at LSU, sister played at Auburn. I feel like basketball is for me. That's what I'm gonna do. She told me, she was like, we're in the car, and she was like, well, I don't think you're athletic enough, or you're not tall enough. If you want to play a college sport, then I think it's gonna be football. So you need to stick with it. And I was like, I'm gonna show you, Mom. And then I grew to 6'7" the next year. So I shout out my mom for helping me grow.
That's funny as hell. Like, this guy has got like a natural sense of humor. It's kind of hilarious. He kind of saying like "F you, Mom" there, but that's funny.
Alan, John Chipley of the Canadian Press. We saw the behind-the-scenes video of Bobby Webster calling you. Congratulations.
I feel very inclined to say every time this guy talks that this is the author of Mike Gate, but go on, John Chitley Hill.
What's it been like getting to know the front office, head coach Darko Rajakovic, and being, it's only been like 48 hours, but being introduced to your first NBA team?
Yeah, it's been.
What I appreciate about these opportunities is you get to learn about a player. When you ask questions like this, you don't learn about a player because these are fluff questions presented as profound questions. And one of the crazy things about this is I don't understand why you would waste your only question to ask this question.
Amazing. I mean, just getting the connections, just meeting them. They've been amazing throughout this whole process. Even when I came up for my workout, it was just amazing getting to meet them. Coach Darko he's very involved, which I love. Like just here today, he was here at the workout. When I was here, he was watching his players being at their workouts. Just being able to see how involved he is with this team has been amazing, and just a testament to the.
I believe he answered this exact question or some semblance of it during his Zoom interview too.
Culture that they've built here, and just the front office. Can't thank them enough. They took a chance on me, so I have no bad things to say, and I will never have any bad things to say about them because they took a chance on me and made me a Toronto Raptor.
Have they spoken to you about what the expectations might be for you in the summer, and like what you need to do to prepare for the upcoming season?
That's a good question.
Obviously, just summer workouts, just getting ready for those, getting ready for summer league, taking it one step at a time. So just really focusing on being where my feet are right now. I feel like that's been the biggest thing that they've been telling me.
One of the other things we've heard is that your analytics dream.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? What's that mean to you?
Yeah, I've heard I've been the analytics darling in this class. I don't really take it as nothing. Obviously, it's a title, but that's how I play the game. I feel like that's just what I do on the court. I don't look into the analytics side of it, never have, that's just the way I play
Analytics FC is in shambles right now.
Basketball I guess it's good on the analytics chart. So I just want to impact winning. That's all I care about doing, and that's what I plan to do here in Toronto, and just making sure that I'm making the winning plays, whether that's diving on the floor, whether that's going to get the loose ball, going to making a shot, whatever it may be. I just want to win.
Alan, Eric Grant, The Athletic. Congratulations. Obviously, getting accustomed to the NBA in all the ways you have to do that is a full-time job, but simply from like a skill off-season work standpoint, is there anything you feel you either need to add or to refine to really be ready to come in and be as good as you can be in year one?
For sure. I feel like right now the focus is just really getting my defensive ability, being able to switch, being able to guard. I feel like that's how I'm going to stay in the league. That's how I'm going to, keep getting contracts and everything like that. Just making sure that I'm being able to switch and on the defensive side of the ball, working on foot speed, all of that stuff, and then being a consistent shooter. I feel like that's
So these are the exact two things that will swing his entire NBA career. And those are the two things that he's going to have to work on. And that's great to hear. You want to hear that this guy knows that his entire NBA career. Like, I'll tell you this guy's either going to make $14 million as a pro and go the David Roddy route, or he's going to make $250 million in his career and he's going to go the Cameron Johnson route. And it seems like he knows that he wants to go the Cameron Johnson route. You want to go the Cameron Johnson route? Hit your fucking shots, man. And he's going to have to take him at a high volume. He's going to take him at a high clip, right? Hit him at high efficiency. If, Lord help you, you playing off of Kawhi Leonard, Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram, RJ Barrett, you're going to get clean look after clean look. Just bury him. Your coach will have you on the court. You'll space this floor for your more talented, more athletically inclined teammates. And then if someone runs you off the line, just be able to take 2 steps and hit a floater. 3 steps, hit a floater. 3 steps, pass. This is a very simple game. You're not asking him to become Kawhi Leonard. You're not asking him to be Vince Carter. You're asking him to read advantages. And I think he's very good at the stuff that he needs to be good at. But the switching, it's like, why do people think you can't work on this? Of course you can work on this. This is technique based. Grady Dick's not trying to become a better defender right now.
I can bring shooting ability here, and then just my feel for the game on offense and being a connector piece, not needing the ball in my hands.
But he said my favorite word in the world, connector. He knows exactly who he is. It's, again, Brian Windhorst said this was the most impressive person that he talked to on draft night. I echoed that sentiment. There are a couple of really great interviews in the first round. There's a couple of guys who are just like, wow, you. Like, AJ will wow you, to some extent. Like when you listen to AJ Devontae talk, you're just like, wow. Anisette, this guy is very sure of himself. Cameron Boozer, great interview. Who else? There's quite a few. Bennett Sturtz, phenomenal interview, right? This guy right here might be one of my favorite interviews, period, because it's just like every time he talks, he's giving you like a real connection into like what he thinks and what he actually believes. And it's very consistent. It's been like this for a year now.
Just keep working all around game. Really just want to work on everything, but I feel like the main focus probably be the defensive aspect of it.
Alan, Michael Grange from Sportsnet, just some of those comments you just made there. A lot of guys, where did that maybe self-awareness come from? Generally, guys who get drafted in the first round are.
Let me guess. He's going to say his family.
Primary ball handling, scoring guys for most of their career. Your guy came out.
Or his dad.
Etc. So where's this idea of kind of learning how to fit in versus some guys have to learn it slower than others, I guess.
Yeah, just the way I was raised, all of that being just a hard worker. I feel like even just off the court, not even with basketball.
I just want to throw this out there. I don't know if he's going to bring it up. He was a mechanic. That's kind of cool. He's very blue collar, fighting alligators in Louisiana, in Ponchatoula, Louisiana, and being a mechanic and being this hard worker. Super cool, man.
I was growing up watching my dad in the shop. He worked, 4 jobs trying to make sure we were well taken care of. So just watching him, how hard he worked in life, and then on basketball end, it just transferred over to the court. Dropped a bus. Then he was in the mechanic shop all day, and then runs a ministry at night. So just watching how hard he worked, it just inspired me to go out there and work as hard on the court, because I feel like this is my job now. So I got to take my job as serious as he does, and just work at it each and every day, perfect my craft, and just that mentality is transferred over to the court, and just how hard I want to play, and whether that be scoring a lot of points, whether it be going to get a rebound, no matter what it may be, I just want to help win and just work hard at whatever I'm doing.
Alan.
Okay, here's the perfect Alan Graves nickname, the Mechanic. Call him the Mechanic. It's a tribute to his dad. It's very emblematic of how he actually plays basketball. I want this to get popularized, and I want full credit for it. Alan the Mechanic Graves. This is a great nickname. And again, it tracks. The Mechanic. Do it. Popularize it. clip this. Clip me saying right now, Alan Graves, Alan the Mechanic Graves. Get it.
Marley Hickens, Seattle Daily Hive. Is this your first time to Canada? What do you think of the city so far? And what's one thing you're really excited to experience?
This is not my first time in the city. I came for the workout. But this will be my first time in the city for an extended period of time. But city is amazing. Even when I came on my workout, I was just walking around with my little meta glasses on, just recording the city, sending it to my family. Like, man, this is beautiful. Just the scenery here. I love being from Louisiana, you see a lot of green, a lot of trees. So love that it's still that in the big city. Still get a little bit of both. And then just really like the big city life, like adjusting to it. I feel like that's pretty cool. One thing that I'm most excited for is being able to be in a big city, being able to adjust to that. And, all the fans and everything just has a whole country behind us. That's one thing that's important because, like I said, Louisiana is kind of the same. How I grew up, the whole state was kind of behind me. And now the whole country, I get to say a whole country's behind us up here in Toronto.
Yeah, well, not Ryan Wolstead.
Yeah, you've been brainwashed to hell. Cam Loops don't give a shit about you, but Toronto will rock with you for sure. I'm kidding. I know there are segments and pockets of Montreal and Vancouver, but man, I have friends in Montreal that say I don't give a shit about the Raptors. That kind of always you get a shout out to the Raptors, man. I wish that the Toronto Raptors would do a better job somehow of integrating the rest of Canada into their and by the way, he has pronounced Toronto correctly 60 times out of 60. By the way.
Toronto Sun. Speaking of Canada, obviously there's the Steve Nash connection with Santa Clara. I'm just curious about your interactions with him, if you've heard from him or just past interactions with him.
Yep, just obviously from Santa Clara, had a great career in the NBA, and just he was big in our season this year. Just all the encouragement he provided us. He always constantly made us videos, constantly reached out to us, and then just seeing him. I think I saw him my redshirt year. He came to a game. He came to a Stanford game, and just his support and the alumni that Santa Clara has built has been amazing. The connections that they've built. Jalen reached out, Brandon reached out, just all of those, having those guys that already been here and can learn from them and grow from them, get any little tips and tricks that I can.
I'm Will. I run a whole podcast. What's it like growing up with two very accomplished older siblings in sports? And did they ever let you win? Did you ever meet them? Have you played some one-on-ones? Walk us through that.
You want to say it? You want? Yeah, all right. You ever let me win? No, definitely not. No, none of that soft jug in our house.
He almost swore. He was about to say none of that soft shit.
So we had to earn everything, especially being the youngest. The youngest, just growing up watching them. That's one thing. I mean, I'm really appreciative to them. They were very open about their journeys. The mistakes, the accomplishments, everything. They didn't hold back, and that's why I feel like I'm in this position because I was able to learn and grow from them, and they were willing to pour into me. But definitely a very competitive household. Didn't let me win at all. Had to earn everything. We were competing to see who could put the seatbelt on first.
His story is actually quite similar to Morris Peterson. Just want to throw that little thing out there. Mo Pete often talked about how his big sister didn't let him win and stuff, and how it made him better. So
who could do whatever, whether racing, anything. We were always competing, and I feel like that's where I get my competitive nature from. And obviously the feel for the game because of being able to grow up around it at a high level, and two very accomplished siblings. And then even my sister-in-law, Rachel, his wife, she's, 7-time All-American in track, national champion, very accomplished family. So just being able to learn and grow from them. She trained us. I had to do LSU's boot camps when I was in 8th grade. Over there, she's talking about we were supposed to get a minute break. She already saying 10 seconds on the line, man. But yeah, just growing up around that and being able to experience that and just be able to, it helped me get to where I am now.
Along the lines, does it feel like you're here on behalf of the whole thing?
Oh yeah.
It's like a collective dream.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm definitely carrying, my whole family's legacy and just really, bringing them along this process with me. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them and God, and even the whole town of Ponchatoula, just really being the first.
If you, I'm gonna play a drinking game the next time he talks. I'm gonna take a shot every time he says Ponchatoula, because dude, I had to Google Ponchatoula yesterday, and I did there's like a YouTube video that shows like what the town looks like, and sometimes like when someone is drafted from where you don't know, he and Colin Murray Boyles are gonna be such fast friends. It's not even funny because Colin Murray Boyles comes from a very similar place in South Carolina. You got the two country boys here. This is kind of cool. When does summer league start? I don't know the exact date, but very soon.
First round pick from Ponchatoula, just really trying to carry on that legacy and make sure that they know they can do it too, and just be an inspiration to them.
Okay, so like if anyone was just like, I wonder why the Raptors drafted this guy, listen to him talk for 10 minutes, watch him play for 5 minutes. It's not rocket science.
Michael Grant, Sportsnet.
Michael Grant, Sportsnet. You're, one of the things that came on your draft profile is very good on ball defender, point of attack defender. When did that become a priority for you, and why is it something that I guess?
Oh, my bad. So this is Jaden Bradley, Arizona guard, 4-year guy. Let's listen to him talk. He's another great interview, by the way. If we had to assemble an all NBA draft interview team, he'd be first team, and so would he might be second team. Alan Gray's first team. First team all interview. This guy's second team all interview.
Perhaps got you to this level.
For sure. I feel like I've been a pretty good defender, throughout my high school career. My freshman year at Alabama, I had some great players, and I know I had to hang my hat on the defensive end, kind of earn minutes, and probably the same, kind of here in the NBA. So just doing whatever I can to get on the floor, and that's probably gonna be on the defensive end early. So I'm gonna hang my hat on that.
There's something about how you approach defense that makes you effective.
Obviously, a lot of film. You got to know players' tendencies and all that stuff. Being active in the gaps on ball, trying to get steals, just trying to get any kind of advantage you can.
I've done this with Toronto Star. A 4-year college guy. The Raptors have had success in the past. Why is it good for you to have that kind of background?
What do you expect him to say here, Doug Smith?
For sure. I just feel like just a student in the game. A mature kind of older player that's ready to come in right away and make an impact. Whether how many minutes I get, I can't control that, but just go out there and just ready to play.
Years ago, 4-year contract, 4-year college guys would be looked down on.
Yeah.
Now they're much more accepted. Why do you think that changed?
I just feel like NBA is a very talented league with one and dones and all that stuff, but when it comes to, I feel like player like NBA ready players, I feel like the 4-year guys, they have experience in college, they had their ups and their downs. So I feel like those guys are pretty mature and kind of ready right away.
Hey, Jaden, Josh Lindbergh with TSN. Congratulations. To Doug's point, not only the Raptors experienced guards before, but even just your player type, like tough, hard-nosed defender, accomplished. It means you'll come in and fit in, but at the same time, what do you have to do to stand out amongst guys like Jamal Shed, Elijah Martin, players that are kind of similar in terms of mindset?
Sure. Definitely learn from those guys. They've been in this system. I haven't, so they have a lot of knowledge from me. Can't wait to learn from those guys. But obviously, work on my shooting, being consistent in that. My playmaking, keeping my turnovers down. Getting out past breaks, just making it easier for my teammates and myself.
Jaden, John Chipley Hill from the Canadian Press. Welcome back to Toronto. What have the past 24 hours been like for you? Because obviously we just had you on a video conference call 18 hours ago.
Yeah.
So what's happened since then?
No, for sure. I was in North Carolina, watching the draft with my family. We had a good time, watching it and hearing my name get called. Like you said, I was on a Zoom call with y'all. Flight over here, and just couldn't wait to get out here. But that's been the past couple of months, just on the road doing the workouts, and so I'm used to it right now.
And obviously, I know you met with front office folks here before, but what's it been like since you officially got drafted speaking with Bobby, speaking with Darko, and getting sort of like set up for the summer, getting ready for the upcoming season?
For sure, it's been a great experience. It's different when you get to, see him face to face and, kind of talk to him, in person. Great people. I love the people so far. I just can't wait to get started.
Jaden, as Barahim from Raptors Republic, I'm curious, through this workout process, draft process that you've been through over the last couple months, because you're such an experienced player, what do you think you learned about yourself over the last couple of months?
This draft process is long. You gotta, mentally, it can get to you, all the traveling, not getting enough sleep in the hotels and all that stuff. But you just gotta know how to take care of your bodies and do the little stuff on your own. I learned that stuff.
Will from the podcast. I have two questions for you. One, you mentioned last night that you played against Jamal.
Yeah.
So I looked up the game. Since you're a defensive specialist, I'm assuming you guarded him a lot. Do you remember anything about like just that specific matchup? What was like to go against Jamal?
Man, I actually do remember that game. Houston, he went to Houston. I've been battling them for years. It was a crazy game. I think we're losing the whole game. I think we came back kind of like for second half. He's a great player defensively. Offensively, he had it going as well. So it was a tough matchup.
And then the other question is, I know part of the draft process, like, probably meet with a ton of teams and they ask a lot of strange questions. Do you have a strange question that's set out for you?
At the combine,
It'd be funny if he turned around and said, "This is a pretty strange question," and the entire room would erupt with laughter. Missed opportunity.
My dad works he's retired, for the federal government. So they were like, what is it like growing up with the Fed in the house? So it kind of threw me off a little bit. That was kind of their first question. So, but yeah, it was, I enjoyed the process though.
So what was it like growing up?
I mean, yeah, he knows every movement. He know when you're about to, not telling the truth. You know what you're about to do before you even do it. So.
Hey, Jaden, Ryan Wolstaff from Toronto Sun. Just speaking about like growing up, I know you were born in Rochester, obviously not too far from here. How much time do you spend there? Do you still have family there? And also, coming from Charlotte as well, like were you aware of guys like CMB coming up from not too far away, and obviously Brandon Ingram's from not too far away as well?
Yeah, I definitely know those guys. Playing not too far away from North Carolina. In terms of Rochester, I got a lot of family. My older brother still lives there. And some of my trainers are still there, so I'll go there in the summertime when I can, get some work in and visit family.
Jaden, Julian Apollinario from Raptors HQ. So you have got the distinction of being the only second-round draft pick that's not been traded. How does it feel to have the Raptors put that to the favor?
That means the world to me. Just the organization that had that faith in me. I'm gonna show them that it's.
I know it's a fact the Raptors did not trade their pick, but do you think he would have been upset if the Raptors had traded up to 33 to get him? Like this is an honor. I don't know.
It's gonna work out, and obviously had to put the work in, and it's gonna be tough, but I'm ready for the challenge.
Great, thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you.
So the funny thing is, from
you, just you, building your app.
My bad. The funny thing is, I've obviously been to Rochester. I never lived in Rochester, never lived in Buffalo, thank God. But I did live in New York City for a long part of my life, and I've often said that I am from New York, although, it's just as accurate as to say I'm from Toronto now, because I've lived in Toronto for more than half my life. But that all being said, it's kind of funny that he ends up in Toronto, because Rochester is pretty much like the halfway point between Toronto and New York. It's about a 9-hour drive from Toronto to New York. It's about a 4-hour drive. It's actually funny. Rochester is actually closer to Toronto than it is to New York City. That's kind of funny. New York State's a big place. So, it's New York guards are a beast. I mean, I want to clarify. New York City guards are a beast. You do not get a New York City guard here, but it's pretty cool to say you got a New York guard, I guess. I don't know. New York is the center of basketball in North America in a lot of ways. I mean, at least it was when I was growing up. And, the other day I said, it's really interesting, actually. I was, in the context of the FIFA World Cup, I was thinking about like how big is soccer relative to basketball in the world. And someone said to me something that really made sense. They said soccer is a sport, but football is like an institution or like a religion. And if you were to compare it, it would be football is English and soccer is Spanish. But the caveat here is there are a few places in the world, very few places in the world where basketball is akin to how the rest of the world sees football, right? Like how South Africa sees football, or even how Croatia sees handball, or whatever. So, Italy, France, Germany, whatever. Although the popularity of football has fallen a little bit in Italy, in recent years. So I was thinking, like, what are the places in the world where basketball is bigger than football is for the rest of the world? Where are the places in the world where basketball is like a religious institution, that people talk about basketball at dinner, lunch, that if you don't play basketball, you're insane? Like, where is it that basketball is equivalent to what Canada has with hockey? And I was thinking about it. I was like, New York. That's the place in North America where that's like, okay, yeah, New York, Lithuania, New York, Serbia, like very few places in the world where basketball is that big of a deal. And again, when it goes beyond sports, when it transcends to the point where, the best player in your country could literally run for president and win, like that's when it achieves like a different level. So it's very interesting, to know that he is, from Rochester, New York. Anyways, I say all this to say I'm gonna get out of here, but shout outs. I hope Kawhi becomes a Raptor, man. When I saw the news alert come across my timeline yesterday, I was a little bit like, okay, we'll see. And then it picked up more steam today. That's a good one. Philippines as well. Yes, Lithuania, Serbia, Philippines. Yes, for basketball is massive. But then, when I was on the panel, like the Jake Fischer little bomb dropped as well. And I was like, okay, like, damn, this is happening. And I just sat there and I started praying. I was like, prayers. I will never, I will stop making fun of this guy, that guy. I'm gonna forgive. I'm gonna apologize for all the transgressions and shit that I've done in my life. Please let this happen. I don't say this as a content creator. I don't say this like, oh, because I know Kawhi coming here will boost all of our viewership by like 300%, which subsequently will boost my revenue by 300%. I'm not thinking about this strategically. I'm thinking about this emotionally as a Raptor fan. It would be dope as hell to have Kawhi Leonard in Toronto. I hope he knows that we would, at least this channel, but most people would welcome him back. I'm gonna set up that interview with the Santa Clara coach. I'm gonna ask him some great questions about Allen Graves, and hopefully we'll learn a lot more about the mechanic. All right, please like this video on your way out. It's about 150 likes right now. Let's see if maybe by the time the next video pops up, this video is at 300 likes. We'll see. And again, hope that Kawhi Leonard is back. And let's hope that the hat stays off. I've noticed that the views go up when the hat comes off. So maybe the hat has been doing me a great disservice all along. And I want to give a big shout out to Araf and Omer Sadiq for the super chats. Appreciate you guys, man. Thank you so much. And can't wait for Summer League, man. This is going to be great. All right. Peace.